Welcome to Becoming Parents Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Campbell. I'm a doula in Washoe County, Nevada, a Medicaid provider, a lactation educator, childbirth educator, and mom of 18. You can find me and connect on doulainreno.com. Remember, give a shout out to those who are brave enough to share their stories with us on how they have become parents. Let's dive in. Welcome to Becoming Parents Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Campbell, and today I have with me Roy Coughlan. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you very much for having me.
And you're in Poland right now.
I am indeed. I'm living here 18 years, but I'm originally from Cork in Ireland, which is the south of Ireland.
Your accent's great. I'm sure you get that all the time, but that means my accent's great too, because if you have one to me, I have one to you. So there you go.
Absolutely.
There's so much that I want to talk about with you. I want you to jump in and share your parenting journey with us, and we'll kind of go from there because you are a wealth of lots of things that are exciting.
So my eldest daughter is Irish. She'll be 25 in April. And basically, I moved when she was about 7, and I have a son here from a Polish mother, and he's 11, and I have equal custody with him. So that's kind of my parenting journey as such. And I'm very close to my kids because I know that a lot of people, it's kind of like, to me, life is about the children. I have a fantastic relationship, and with my son, we're always, doing loads of things together.
I don't know the difference, the distance between Ireland and Poland. I'm not familiar with that. How did you maintain your relationship with your daughter from 7? Because, divorce or single parenting or joint parenting is hard on its own when you're down the street. How did you two manage that with your daughter?
I was kind of going back 1 week a month. And then when I
Wow.
was back, yeah, she was staying with me. But that happened for a few years, and then she got to an age where, she didn't need me as much. Like,
Isn't that crazy? They think they don't need you as much. So you really balance things out with your daughter while she was growing up. I mean, yes, kids are the most important thing. I agree. And that's a huge commitment to make time and work your life around your child that can be really challenging, even for parents who are great parents. So that's
yeah.
admirable.
And I mean, I never planned on moving to Poland. So what happened is I started dating a Polish girl. And when I went to Poland, I started seeing the property prices. And then I started investing. I formed a company, and I was only at that stage going out 1 week a month to Poland. But the relationship broke, and I was so deep in, and I had so many syndicates together, I'd have lost everything. So it was never planned. And I know it's very difficult for a child. So I would never, if I could turn back the
Mm.
clock, it's a terrible thing to do for a child. And I mean, I would never do it to my child here. Sorry, my camera's flicking on and off. I'm not sure why
Yeah,
that's happening.
that's okay. That's all right. I mean, it's hard. I was a single parent for a while and then did a blended relationship. And I think every day we're trying to make the best decision. You're faced with something and you're trying to figure out, you're trying to make the best decision that you can. And we're not only parents, that can be a top priority, but we're human beings who want relationship, who have to work. We have all these other facets of who we are that we're trying to balance with our kids. I think that's something that I learned when my kids were growing up. Like, I'm still creating my own story while I'm helping them create their story of their lives. And that's hard to do sometimes. So yeah, I mean, hindsight's 2020, but that's great that you put so much into that. Then you had a son who's 11 and you're there with him. So that's got to be a lot different.
Yeah. So what happened is when he was about 1.5, that's when I kind of went through losing everything, and the marriage broke as well. So I kind of lost my house in Ireland. I had a few houses in Ireland, lost the house, lost personal belongings, lost the marriage, and then kind of was kind of from a year and a half was with my son, and I've had equal custody then for since then,
Yeah,
and I have a fantastic relationship with him.
I love that. And losing everything, that's super, that's really hard. I also had that happen. So I get that to some degree anyway. When you lose everything and you start over and you're divorced and your whole world is turned upside down, That's very challenging. So also have been through that. Tell me about so you changed things about 9 years ago after you lost everything with businesses and stuff. Is that when your business shifted? When did the podcast happen? You have
About
a,
7 years ago, yeah, is
oh,
when I
okay.
started my, yeah.
Okay. And then you also have a partner. Um, you do something with Brain Gym Fitness and you have a partner with a VA business. So I don't know where everything falls if you want to jump in and start sharing all of that and
Yes.
how that worked with your son.
So, like they're new enough. Like the virtual assistant started last year. The brain gym was, it's about a year as well.
Okay.
I've had a few different businesses in between, but like with my son, so the fact that I've got equal custody, what I do is the days that I see him every day, basically. I bring him to school, and his mother collects him from school, and that's the way we kind of alternate. So, Monday night he stays with me, a Wednesday night and Friday night. But this
Mhm.
weekend, because his mum's actually starting doing a master's, he'll be with me from Friday till Tuesday morning, and that's okay. I always kind of,
Yep.
we're not kind of regimental because I see that with a lot of people. It's like, oh, this is the time, this is the thing. That's not good for nobody, and it's like you
No.
have to be flexible, and we've been flexible, and we actually have a good relationship. I mean, it stopped now, but that Polish podcast, that's that was for 5 years running, and it's like done very well. But it was like we were finished, and we put this together because she has a school, and I was basically saying you'll get clients from this, and
Yeah.
most people can't even talk to each other when they break, and or they use the children as a pawn, and that disgusts me when I see that. I see that in Ireland. I've seen it all over the world. There's so
Right.
many people, and it's the poor child that's actually getting hurt
Mhm.
with that.
So you
And I
guys
mean, I suppose
started the
I should answer you with I went on a little tangent. The virtual
I like it.
assistant.
I like the tangents. But you started the Learn Polish podcast with your ex-wife.
Yeah,
How phenomenal. Okay. And then the virtual assistant business, that was about a year ago. Sorry.
yeah. So yeah, basically it's like because I've used different uh, assistants, you use Fiverr or Upwork, and it was like you're always kind of watching them and making sure they're doing it and chasing. I was like, this is not the purpose of having a virtual assistant. And I did recruitment at one stage when the Polish were actually coming to Ireland. I was actually putting them into construction jobs and everything. So I kind of had experience with that. I've run big
Mhm.
jobs. So I'm used to kind of, and
Mm.
the person that I was working with that was helping me then with the podcast, I said, look, we can actually do this. And that's how I set it up. And it's like a lot of times people, they're afraid to give their passwords and stuff like that. So we've got an office and she's got the passwords, but not the staff because we want to totally protect the clients. But at the same time, we do projects as well. So you're
Mhm.
either managing the project, like posting, whether it's a website, whatever it is, but it's like you're doing it on a job basis as opposed to an hourly basis. I mean, some people want an
Oh,
hourly, and we
okay.
because then hey, you've done the job or you haven't, and then you just go away and you start concentrating on what you like instead. So I've kind of created it in a way that I like it, that you're not constantly checking, hey, have they posted? Have they done this? Have they created shorts? Have they made a mistake and stuff like that? So then you get to relax more, and that's the way it should be.
I agree. I had a virtual assistant. I loved having a virtual assistant. He was great. He was from the Philippines. It was less expensive and it started as like through a company and then we just kept on. And I miss him because these are the jobs that I delegated to you. Just get them done. I don't care about your hours. I don't care when you do it or how you do it or whatever. That part's fine, but I just want to make sure it's done. And it was amazing. It was mostly like you have the social media. He did more digital marketing assistance with that, but I loved having a virtual assistant. It was great. It was all the stuff that I didn't love or that I struggled finding the time to do, and it was phenomenal. So if people haven't tried that, you need to get a virtual assistant. It's really fantastic.
No, definitely. Yeah.
So you kind of saw a need and filled a need with that situation.
Exactly. Exactly.
Tell me about Brain Gym Fitness because I'm a fitness enthusiast. So I was like, we have all these things in common. I love that.
Yeah, so my business partner, he's Dutch, living in Romania, and he's been doing this for years. Yeah, I know it.
I mean, okay.
It keeps counting off. I'm not sure. I apologize for that. And so he's living in Romania, and he's been working on this for years. He was in a high position with KLM, managing something like 6,000 people. And it's kind of like a lot of people go to the gym, flex the muscles and do everything, but they're not working about it. So it's kind of like looking after your health, the relationships, kind of reverse aging and making sure
Mm,
you're doing everything in life. Because especially we look at it, so many Alzheimer's, it's on the increase and everything, and you need to keep your mind active. It's really like I remember my grandmother, she lived to 3 weeks short of 96,
yeah.
and she was really, if up to before she got ill, like totally present. She was still doing crosswords, she was reading books, and I believe that's why she was like that. But a lot of people, I mean, the amount of people you come across, they if whether they go to college or not, like they've never read a book again. I know
Yeah.
sometimes, I know it's
Mm.
unfortunately like the social media, and they think they're doing everything, or they're just glued to the TV box. They're not kind of working on the brain, and there's a lot of things to do. So that's what we kind of do. I kind of, get it. We've recorded a few kind of master classes on relationship and aging and things like that. But then he does a 15-week on it. But he's a fascinating guy. It's incredible. Just like we do a weekly call now as well on kind of current events and stuff like that. But we also kind of talk for about 2 hours another day. And each time it's just fascinating because we're both into podcasts, listening to podcasts, reading and everything, and we're just bouncing ideas and we're just helping each other. Like he's 65, he doesn't look it. He looks
Yeah.
about 50. Like, his
Yeah.
hair, even though he's balding, his hair is the natural color. I mean, I went gray at 40, like so.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a
Yeah,
lot
I even
gray.
tried dyeing it at one stage because I thought maybe for the son he was kind of like, I'm going to the school collecting them and stuff, and I just like it didn't agree with me, like because whatever's
No.
in the chemicals with the thing, I said not doing that again. So
Oh, I'm glad that I was blonde enough that the gray it just kind of blends in, but it is shocking when you look at how much. Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I don't know how old you were when your kids were born. I was 21 when my first one was born and 39 when my last one's born, and she's 15 now, and definitely I'm in a different age demographic of parents. And when she started kindergarten, my husband said, "Oh, look, it's all your friends." I'm like, those are all my kids' age. Those aren't my friends, So yeah. Anyway, no, he looks great. And that's so he's looking at fitness. You guys are kind of doing fitness from a different perspective. The gym is one part of it, and then there's all of this other that goes along with that to have better relationships, better health, anti-aging. Because he talks about,
communication, all that
yeah,
kind of stuff.
yeah, he talks about being an employee and family and car accidents and divorce and addictions and failing with startup businesses. I mean, like that, there's a lot in there that I don't think we really even consider as something that we need to think about. I did 75 hard. I don't know if you guys have that over there. It's a fitness thing you do for 75 days, and you do six things every day, two physical workouts a day. But one of them is reading a minimum of 10 pages of a book. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to do it. I wanted to have like this accountability program process where I needed to do something. There was nobody watching me. I could have not done it, but I really wanted this program that I could take myself through. And it was 5 years ago, and I've never stopped. I've never stopped. But because before that, I just something that I loved that I just stopped doing for absolutely no reason. So I love that you brought that up. The
And
readings.
for him, he goes for a walk an hour a day.
Mm,
And what he said is before he felt I'm only doing this like 60% of the time because it's snowing or it's raining. And he said, no excuses. I'm going for my walk every day. And I think that's so important because so many of us do that. Like I go to the gym, I don't feel like it today, or whatever you're doing. And it's like, don't give yourself an excuse. And I think, training yourself to be able to do that is going to benefit you in the long run.
I think the mental aspect of all physical fitness is more challenging than the physical aspect of it, actually. You can physically get through it, but getting yourself there is the hardest thing for people. And I stopped going on walks when my daughter took our dog 3 years ago. And like the dog, having a dog and needing to take him out and do the best thing for this dog is what got my butt out of the chair every day after lunch to take him for a walk in any weather. So, I mean, I think do what you need to do to get yourself there, but it do you guys talk about like it's you're if you're waiting for motivation, it's never going to happen. You just have to be disciplined to do it, like he did about his walk. You have to make a decision and be disciplined.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Tell
And
me
like you
about,
were asking about the age, actually. So I
yeah.
think I was 27 when I
Oh,
had my first, and I was 41 when I had my son.
see, I didn't want to throw you under the bus like that, but yeah, I mean, I'm 54. You're like
Yeah, I'm
50.
52.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think they're parenting younger and parenting older. Let's talk a little bit about that. I feel like there's some things that are harder about parenting older and some things that are easier and better about what are your thoughts on that? Because you had your kids like 14 years apart. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was very close up to about 19 with my daughter. And
Uh,
she was, what's strange is she became a teacher. And when she was younger, I bought her a blackboard, whiteboard. She used to always ask me everything I was buying her. She goes, is it educational? Because I'd buy her things, that it would benefit her instead of, remote control cars or just whatever.
right.
And she became a teacher. And I asked her when there was that, but when it was the lockdown and stuff like that, I kind of understood what was going on, and she didn't like it, and then she started vaping, and I was kind of trying to stop. So she's pushed away. She doesn't like but I think eventually she'll understand. But prior to that, like we're like I take her swimming every week
Hmm.
when I was there, and so that's just the way it is. And
Yeah.
it's strange. I've come across a few people that have been on my show and everything, and similar things happened
Yeah.
because maybe it's what they've been watching on telly or their circle of friends, but they don't seem to know what's going on in the world. And it's like, they don't want to know, but unfortunately, you need to know. You need to try to make a difference. And when you see a loved one doing something that you know is detrimental to their health,
Hmm.
you try to help them because you love
Hmm.
them, and then they just kind of so yeah. Unfortunately, that's the way.
But
But
I think
I
that's normal.
mm,
At that age, I think, I had great relationships with several of my kids until they hit like that last year. I don't know how you break down school there, but like they finished their high school before going to university. So they're that last year when they're 17 to 18, I think that there's this push pull where well, first they think you're dumb and you are from the dinosaur ages, and it was not like for you, it was not like it is for them, which isn't true. I mean, things change, but it really is the same. I think that they're learning to be independent adults outside of you. They don't want to be parented anymore, but they don't have a freaking clue. They think you're wrong about everything. So, I mean, for you, it was a specific event with vaping, but like almost every one of my kids went through that, where all of a sudden there was this friction. And then they leave and they think you're a jerk. And every one of my kids came back and said, I'm sorry. I love leftovers now. I will help with the chores. I just need to come back and regroup because it's harder out there on the outside than they realize. And then you get this new relationship as two adults where they don't need a parent and you're kind of friends with them. But they come to you for advice because they want to, not because you're parenting them. And that's a beautiful thing. But it takes that separation and friction and then them coming back. I think I've seen that with most of my kids.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I remember my solicitor in Poland saying to me, "Yeah, he was on about that age, and it wasn't related to me saying that." And he just said, "Yeah, they get monkey brains at a certain age, and then they." And I just, yeah, they have to find themselves as
They
well. So
do.
that's, so yeah.
They
But
do.
my
And
mom is extremely close, and I'm extremely close to my mom. I talk to my mom nearly every day. I'm a mummy's boy. She stays with my mom. She's close, so I know exactly what she's doing, even though she's not going to keep me in the loop. So I know she's
well,
doing well.
you're a jerk and you don't get it.
Exactly, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Eventually that changes, especially when they have kids and they're like, I'm going to do it better than you. And I say, I hope you do. Holy cow, please do it better. And then they have kids and they're like, okay, this wasn't exactly as easy as I thought it was going to be, but yeah, kids are funny. Tell me about you have 6 podcasts. You told me the one to learn Polish. Oh, your ex-wife is beautiful. Um, I just saw a
Yeah, you're
picture.
probably saying what did she there, yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, I was covering her. Yeah, no, she's beautiful. She's extremely beautiful. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So you have that one. You're not recording that one anymore. It's
I've actually found because she started doing a franchise with kind of teaching kids
Mm.
So it was, and she's got the school and everything, so she just didn't have time. So
Yeah.
I started creating shorts for it just to kind of keep going. And I was looking for someone, but I wanted somebody with the good energy. And it's only just this weekend, somebody, because I wanted to improve my Polish for my son to help him with school. And I asked the person months ago, and they were thinking about it and they changed their mind. And I reached out to them. I said, maybe you friend just this week. And they said, I've actually, if the offer's still on the table, I'd love to do it. So I'm going to be
Oh,
starting it again.
oh,
And
good.
yeah, yeah, and I know it's weird. It's actually getting way more downloads now. It was always doing. It's got millions between the audio and the video, but it's like even the last month, it's like over 45,000 or something, which is incredible. I mean, usually it would do 20 to 30, and it's doing way more because people come in for a language,
Hmm.
and they just keep listening. Like I'm going to have somebody on the Podfather. They're getting 8 million on an English channel, and like, I mean, I know not all podcasts do that. Like, 'cause I've got
Yeah.
six. So the speaking one, which is help, it was mainly for helping people speaking, helping coaches and stuff like that. But then it's kind of authors as well, and just in general, the meditation, helping people chill. There's meditation there, talking about yoga, breath work, chakras, all that kind of stuff,
Hmm.
and doing well. My favorite kind of one was the one with the mask on it. It's called The Awakening.
Yeah.
That's exposing fraud and corruption, but with solutions. Yeah.
Well, you've gotta just come to the US. You have a ton of content. Indefinite podcast, that one.
Yeah, so that one I get since like I got removed from Linktree, I got the YouTube channel for that one got kicked out. Like I'm attacked left, right, and center for that, but it's doing well because people understand. And like I talk about things years before the likes of Rogan and them because
Yeah.
they talk about it because it's getting out at the masses, and then people are thinking, "Hey, these guys are on our side," and I don't believe so. But just yeah, but it's a good one. It's I enjoy that one. The
Yeah.
crypto. I, I saw lots of rug pull scams and everything, and I didn't want to incorporate it into the awakening because I said not everyone's into blockchain technology.
Right.
So I did a separate one. And yeah, it's doing well. I mean, there's times there's people reaching out that are going, "Ooh, I didn't think of that." Because I'll ask about doing your will. Because a lot of the time you'll have your seed phase and everything, and you don't want to be giving it to a solicitor because most solicitors you can't even trust, or an accountant. And
Yep.
it's like, how do you protect it? Because you just don't know. I could get hit by a bus in the morning. I just want to make sure that it's being passed on, not just disappear into the ether. So
Right.
I talk about a lot of different things like that and just different NFTs, and it's interesting. I'm learning myself as I go through it. So, and the newest
Yeah.
one then is the Podfather. So that's helping podcasters, existing podcasters, or those looking to start. And at the start, I was just kind of doing tips myself. I was giving, 2, 3, 4 minute tips, but now I'm getting interviews as well. I'm getting,
Hmm.
the likes of yourself. You either send me a recording of some tip that you want, or you come on and you share all the stuff. Because I believe, like with the media, we see it, it's all regurgitated. They're just repeating all the stuff. And you get better information from a podcast. I want to keep them in the game because you're staying in it, you're enjoying it. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, some people 3 episodes, 10 episodes, they go, it's too much work, or I don't like it, or they're not happy with the numbers, and they just disappear. And I'm trying to help them. There's a few little things you can do just to make it work, and that's the purpose of that show.
I get asked that. I've been podcasting for almost 7 years. In May of 2025, the beginning of May, it'll be 7 years. And every time I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll stop. Something happens where I'm like, I'm definitely not going to stop. So just because it's time, but it's not as time intensive as it was 7 years ago. And I get asked a lot about starting a podcast. And I thought about doing the same thing, but you have to, like, you're the podcast guru here with six of them. You have to decide how much time and energy that you want to put into any one thing. And I didn't want to start that, you know, tangent where I was teaching people how to podcast. So I have a document that people can download and it kind of takes you through all the steps. But there are a ton of tips and tricks to make it easier. I want to ask you a question because this drives me nuts. You mentioned how people will do 7 to 10. And I know a while ago there was a stat where the average podcast has 7 episodes, and I don't want them counted in the stats. I'm like, if you're going to do a couple 3 to 7 episodes and you stop the podcast, kick it out of the stats, but that's not fair either. It's just that for those of us who really commit and do it for a long time, where our stats are important to us and we want to make a difference, those podcasts really skew our statistics and information. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you get different figures. You get, oh, there's 4 million, there's 3 million, whatever podcasts, and there's
Mm-hmm.
400 and odd thousands active. I don't know. I just know that
Yeah.
like I mean, you're in the top of the charts, and it's
Yeah.
like which is great. Yeah, yeah, I get it that people leave and they just kind of, but at the end of the day, sometimes they might have done good episodes, which can reach a person when they need it. So,
Yeah.
like, I try to do as much. I mean, you're doing it like what you're doing is brilliant because nobody teaches a person how to be a parent. And I mean,
Mm,
I've listened to a few of your shows. You're having very good conversations, and like they're the kind of information that people need to listen to. Where sometimes they're going on to the doctor, they're going to the doctor thinking the doctor's going to tell them exactly, and it's like, no, not
no.
really. And
No.
this is one now that you probably wouldn't know. I only learned this last week, and
Okay.
I'd heard on a show a guy, a health specialist guy, mention it was on Patrick Bet David, and he mentioned about the folic acids, saying how dangerous it was. I was like, well, I remember my child when I was born. Doctor said take folic acid, and here in Poland, take folic acid. I thought it was like your vitamin C or vitamin D, the different magnesium. It's synthetic.
Mm,
I didn't know that.
right.
And like it's like, I don't know, is it as healthy? So I would encourage people to go and do their own research on that one
Yeah.
because the synthetic shouldn't be in our body. And it's
Right.
like every single thing I've learned that they tell you to do is not good for you.
Right.
They're
No
pretending they
kidding.
have your back with the food, with the milk, with the bread, whatever. Every single thing is reversed. And I
Yeah.
was like, that's another one. So constantly I look and like I mean, if we're looking at even younger parents or whatever, like if we look at the monitors, loads of people do that because they think it's good, but it's a frequency.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you're
I
putting the
know.
frequency next to the baby. So just and the lights and stuff like that. Like even when I go to bed, I plug out the leads. And you can have a light at the bedside I'm reading, but the energy is going through the lead and plug it out. Do the same
Yeah.
with your child. Some people think, oh, the child needs lights on. No, it doesn't.
No.
It just, so just
No.
small little things to be watching out for.
Well, I think you're right. When people do podcast episodes, even if they do a few, it is still valuable, but it would be nice to differentiate the statistic. And I think the thing about podcasts that's challenging for me is that the statistics aren't really consistent, but that's a whole nother
But they're
conversation.
actually because I mean, I help people get on shows as well. I
Mm-hmm.
have one guy I got him on. He's the guy that called me the Podfather. I got him on over 250 shows. After about 100, he called me the Podfather. That's why I created the Podfather. I just thought, oh, I like the name of
Wow.
that. Yeah. But like there was times, the stats were showing 4,000 downloads per
Yeah.
episode. And he talked to him and he said 20. And I don't mind if somebody's got 20, because sometimes if you go into a room and there's
Right.
20 people there, it's great. You don't have to be complaining about that. But there's a load line. And then there's all software that's telling you this. I mean,
Yep.
even the one that like we connected on, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
like sometimes it was showing more than what I have. I know it's showing way less than what I have.
I
And the
know.
thing is, I have it on YouTube, BitChute, and Rumble. It doesn't take that into account. And sometimes
Yeah.
my video get way more, and for yourself as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the only way it would work is if everybody gives the information. But all these platforms, Spotify and Apple, they're all against each other. They're all trying to they're not giving out the information.
I know.
So
That is the
there's no
hardest.
software. They all pretend that you get this, but I have looked at a load. There's some of the agents that you know yourself, you'd be bombarded with agents coming to you. And
Yep.
I'd ask them, okay, see what mine are. Not one has got it right. So they're all guesstimates.
Yeah, I agree. That's the part that I think bothers me more than like all people who start and only do a couple episodes and stop, and it kind of skews it. It's that we don't have a single way to get accurate statistics from all of the places together. But tell me what is your favorite? Because when I saw it, I was like, I told you when we first got on, I'm like, you have a crypto podcast. I trade crypto for like 10 years, my husband and I have. And so many people don't even know what it is more now, more in this last few months. It's coming out a lot more in mainstream media. But what's your favorite to do? Or it just depend on the day, or they all are in different ways?
think it was always about the awakening.
Mm,
It's because
yep.
being a parent, I want
Yeah.
the world better for him. And like when I was growing up, I always thought the government had your best interest. Like I grew up in the Celtic Tiger, so you could, at one stage I was actually trusting him, and I think, but then I look back and I look at the education system, I look at everything. It's like the more I learn, and I question every single thing. I go, why do I think that? That, the winner always writes the
Hmm.
history books, or everything, and I'm doing this, sharing as much as I can without attacking anyone, because a lot of people are reporting on this, but they're just attacking. I'm doing this for my child and for other people's
Right.
children, that it'll be a better world, because it can be. It can change overnight. And it's like not to accept it. And I've learned to stand up in my sovereignty. Not,
Hmm.
I mean, I've had over 100 court cases, and I talk to my child, even though, I tell him everything. I explain everything. If I see the clouds, the planes flying by and what they're doing, he knows
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
He can see it, which is strange because I've plenty of adults who can't. So I explain things. I talk about 5G. Because sometimes people go, oh, a child shouldn't know that. But why? Wouldn't it be good if the child is having the conversation with their friend and they're just curious, which in turn the child might go back and talk to his parents and they go, what, really? I'd check that out. Instead of everyone trying to protect the child and not
Right.
doing anything, it's better, to do it. And I mean, yeah, like even health-wise, like I love today. After I collected them from school, we went to the park. We do that a lot. The weather's nice. We walked around the park a few times, having a nice conversation. It's a great way. Most people don't. They just let the child go off, do his thing, you do your
Yep.
thing. But do you ever sit down and actually, or when you're eating as well, that you're having the
Yes.
conversation? But just, I love going for a long walk with my son, because you're just chatting away, and it's a beautiful experience.
They have such a different way of thinking about things and asking questions too, that I think as adults, if we kind of take a step back and slow down, it's not just like seeing the beauty in the weed that's a flower. It's so much beyond that. Their way of thinking and asking, and their innocence and wanting to understand, it's really, really refreshing when you really sit and talk to your kids and allow them to ask questions. I also think when they're starting to ask questions, they're getting ready for the answer. So you don't have to bombard them. It's like there's a joke about how Timmy said, you know, where did I come from? And they told him all about the birds and the bees and sex and having babies. And he's like, oh, well, Jimmy was from Texas. And I just wondered, like, sometimes when they ask questions, they're like, you have to make sure you're answering the right question. But if they're legitimately asking something, I feel like their brains are ready for those answers, because they're already inquiring about them. And if we don't give them the answers, they're going to try to find them in a different way, and it's probably not going to be good. So I love that that's your favorite podcast, sharing the truth. I love that. What advice would you give to parents? Well, you are a serial entrepreneur. What would you give to parents, especially those who are wanting to or are entrepreneurs in their journey? I think that's a great place to kind of end.
I think where you are, be there. As in,
Mm,
don't be at home thinking of your job when you're with your child, and don't be at work thinking your family, thinking that you're not serving them. When you're in work, whether you're working from home or whatever, where you are, be present, and then
mm-hmm.
set aside. Don't be with your child and then go, oh, this is an important call. Like, people can't book me when I'm with my son. I've
Yeah.
blocked out the calendar. That's my son's time. And
Yep.
it's like, yeah, when he's not with me, I'll do three shows, Tuesday and Thursday or whatever in a few. But it's like, be present. And I think if you do that, so many people make the mistake of, I'm doing this for my kid, our kids, and I'm going to have this big house. You could be in the house on your own. The house could be empty. It's You're better off living in a shed with your child that gives you a cuddle. So
Yeah.
just like, I still, when I'm doing things, I take him to last week. No, took him to cinema, went playing pool and stuff like. I play Uno. I don't know, do you know the game
Yeah. Yeah.
Uno? It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yep.
we could play that for hours. I was playing chess with him a few years ago. I love reading. I read 100 books a year. I challenged him. We read 100 books 2 years ago. I said, his were obviously kids' books and stuff like that,
Right.
but he did it. And it's like, eh, sometimes you're trying to protect them and not show them, but I think they're watching everything you do, and make sure you're doing the right thing. Like if you're an entrepreneur and you're stressed and you're coming home and you're just getting drunk, that's not the child then is looking at that and seeing that. Don't do that. If you need to drink, drink when you're not with your child.
Yeah.
So, and just I think the one thing that children love, like most people, they're giving them the device. Go away and watch your phone. Go away and you watch the telly. I know that no matter what, I could play a couple of hours in the summer playing football with my son. He loves it. I know the sweat be dripping off me, or just and it's just do things like that. That's what they want. They want your time.
Yeah.
You give it to them. Don't be half present and you're just sitting there with your scrolling your phone and checking your TikTok and your Facebook and all this kind of thing. Just be with them, and it comes back. I mean, I get so much like I was thinking, at what age will he stop being so close to me? Because you're conscious that especially a boy, like that they can sometimes, it's different for the mother. The boy is always very close. And we still cuddle. He still tells me he loves me all the time. I tell him I love him. We're so close. But at the same time, he's very strong because I prepared him for the world, but not a bully. But he'll
Hmm.
protect somebody. So, there was a time a guy was putting a fella's head in the bin and he was telling him to stop and he wouldn't. And he intervened and they couldn't do nothing because he's not afraid. He stands up. Even he go to the principal when he sees something is wrong. And I'm so proud of him for doing that. Like
Hmm.
he sees me standing in my sovereignty and just not accepting anything. At the
Yeah.
time when you had to wear the mask, we were the only people going around the shopping centre not wearing it.
Yeah,
And one
me
stage,
too.
the police came towards me and
Hmm.
started screaming at me. And I just turned. They were speaking in Polish, and I just said, "Are you talking to me?" And they kind of went like that. And they
You
said,
just
"You have to
sounded
wear a mask."
American.
And they said, "You have to wear your mask." And I went, "Oh, yeah." I turned around and just walked. But my son was
Yeah,
next to me. He saw I'm not afraid of them because what they're doing is wrong.
right.
And when I hear the amount of times he goes up to the principal, and just saying, like, they had a dance teacher making him gyrate and stuff like that. And he was like, he wouldn't do it. He refused to do it. And another boy refused to. And they went up. I said, "You don't have to do that." Because there's like 8 girls and 2 boys in the class. And they went up
Yeah.
and they complained without me saying anything. And I just said, "Good on you. That you don't tolerate when you're 100% sure that you know something is wrong."
Yep.
Instead of going, "Hey, you go in and you sort it out." He knows how to sort things himself. And a lot of people, they're stepping in for their children thinking, "I should be fixing this." They know what they're doing. It's better to teach them that they're able to do it themselves
Yep.
as young as possible.
Roy, thank you so much for being on and sharing your story. You're fun. It's been really fun.
No, thank you very much. Thoroughly enjoyed it.